good morning. You're listening to 895themix.com, the people's voice, the people's choice. 895themix.com, the place you go for your personal conversations, for your business information, and for your spiritual inspiration. 895themix.com. You can find us online or on your TuneIn app. 895themix.com.
Good morning, good morning. This is Lisa Santiago McNeil.
And I am Brian Keith McNeil, and what a funny open.
This is about last night. About last night. We actually might talk about last night.
Well, maybe we can, because this is Motivation Monday.
Yes.
The day we use to slingshot us forward to the week and have a good motivating Monday to have a great week. So why do you believe that we might be talking about something from last night?
Well, because last night we actually prepared differently for this week.
Talk about it.
One of the things that both of us as coaches and consultants talk to with our clients is goal setting. Mm-hmm. If you don't plan to do something, it's not likely that you will do it. But as it relates to some of the things that we do ourselves, we've gotten a little loose.
Yeah.
And I think last night we kind of took an assessment of that and said, let's get a little tighter. Mm-hmm. And sort of the practice what you preach.
You know, let's talk about that for not long, because I know we only have a little bit of time. But this thing about goal setting today, mm-hmm. There seems to be warring factions in this country, because I pay attention to a lot of stuff. Now, you and I, we're still we're part of the old school sect who believe it's important to have goals and to have targets to work towards. But I do recognize, and I see it a lot, where there's a rash of speakers talking about goal setting is passé. You don't need to set goals anymore because goal setting was so popular, people have taught themselves how to not hit their goals. They'll set a goal and not do it, set a goal and not do it, set a goal and not hit it. So goal setting in general has lost its value. You know, instead you should just grind because you grind. Instead you should just be excellent because you're excellent. How do you feel about these two factions?
I think the second one is bullcrap. Like, seriously, without a target, then you don't have anything to focus on or towards. I think that goal setting should be smart. I really believe that it's really, really important that we have measurable goals.
SMART is an acronym that was very popular in the 90s. It's specific, measurable, something achievable, R, and then T. repeatable, and then T. I don't know what it is, but it's SMART. It's easy to find. Okay,
it's easy to find. Google SMART. Anyway, but yeah, because I think that if you don't have anything in mind, then you won't necessarily do anything.
Well, you have an ideal in mind that you want to make money, for example. That could be a vague thing that you said, I want to make money, okay? But not specifically how to do it. But that could be part of it, you know.
So you're saying that they're saying just get up because you're getting up.
I'm with you on this. I just wanted to kill it so that people who had that thought can get rid of it, you know?
Okay, because I was about to say, I can't defend that because I think it's nonsense.
Okay.
I can't even talk about it because I think it's nonsense.
Write the vision and make it plain so that they can see it and run to it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's just still a tenet that still works today.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think that even in the conversation that we had as recent as on Saturday night, talking about goal setting and vision boarding and the importance of doing those things as a part of setting yourself up to success and for success.
Now, I knew we were going to talk about motivation today, so for fun, I pulled up dictionary.com and looked up the word motivation.
Awesome. What's the definition?
And in my naivete, I thought they was going to tell me just because I looked it up, but they won't.
What?
Look up motivation, and it says the act of being motivated.
And we all learned in the third grade that you cannot use the word in the definition of the word.
So you had to go to motivated. And then it says having to do with a motive.
Wow. It's gooder and gooder.
Yes. So then you had to go to the word motive to figure out motivated and motivation. And motive is a reason for doing something. Mm-hmm. A reason for doing something.
Okay.
I like it. A specific reason for doing something. Now, we don't have a specific reason for doing something speakers. We have motivational speakers.
Right.
Okay. But that's what it is. So it interests me today that it had to break me down to 3 different places to get the real definition of the word. Mm-hmm. What's interesting to me is because of another thought. Can one person motivate another person? And the argument seemed to be in the business communities that we can't motivate people. We can only help them to motivate themselves.
Right.
That's what the business community seems to be saying.
And I feel that way. I feel that we can inspire people. We can't motivate them. And some people think that that's really, really close, but I don't.
Well, I'm going to want you to talk about that because now, after going through that with dictionary, I'm thinking one person can motivate another.
Yeah.
I do think so. So please go ahead and tell me why you believe you cannot and why it's inspiration and why it's not close.
Well, when I think of motivating, I think of actually physically causing something to move, right? Mm-hmm. And I think
a physical act
of causing something to move. Now, that may not be the dictionary definition, but in my mind, I at least I have noticed that, and I have seen from experience, you can't physically force anyone to move. You can force them physically while you're in their presence, but that's not something that's going to continue when they're not in your presence.
But they're still doing it, even though the caveat is in your presence. You can force them to do it.
But are they really doing it?
They're doing it to you. They're doing it enough.
Not really. They're not. They're probably not doing it well. They're probably not doing it even to the best of their abilities. But when you inspire someone to understand that what it is that they have in them that they need to be doing is so important that they can't do anything else, then they are self-motivated. I put that word on there just to help explain it because I personally believe that motivation comes from within versus from without.
I like it, and I do believe the way you're defining it is an optimum and the best way of doing it. But for 300 years in our country, just to take a harsh opposite view and have you defend it, and I know you can, and I really want you to defend this. I want you to. Did the slave masters motivate the slaves to pick the cotton?
They didn't motivate them. They forced them.
They forced them with what? The threat of the whip, right?
Right.
Okay. But it got done because if the definition is as you were saying is to get people to take a physical act. I want you to pick that cotton. That's a physical act. Okay. Mm-hmm. So is the whip a motivating tool?
Did it motivate them to do it?
Yeah.
I guess using that definition, it did. But would they do it if nobody had beaten them into it?
There you go. That's a much better way. Would they do it if the whip wasn't there or the threat of the whip wasn't there?
And in some cases they have. Going back to the conversation that we had on Friday with LaWayne, that when you get your minds wrapped around something, when you get convinced, like his fantastic imagery with that elephant and the rope around his ankle, when you get convinced that this is what you got to do because you can't do anything else, then they don't need the whip anymore.
So let's bring it back today. How many people are motivated on their jobs? Would they do the job if the job stopped paying them?
I think some cases, yes. I will be honest. I know that there are some people that love their jobs. They love them. To be quite honest, I was one of them for almost, I want to say 15 out of my 20 years. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It was my work. It was my baby. I loved it. Mm-hmm. But I also believe that in other cases, we have been trained, brainwashed into doing what we do without the whip.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This conversation is going entirely different from where I thought it was going to go.
You decided it was I wasn't going this way.
I thought we was going to talk about how to motivate ourselves.
Yeah.
And we can still. But this is kind of interesting, too, to me. Why do we get, the question is, many workshops have been done on it. Why do you get up to go to work in the morning? You know, why do you do it? And then you get the immediate surface 4, 5, 6 answers, so I can make the money to pay the bills. Okay, but once you get past that, why do you go? And when you can't get past that, then the motivation to do it well is gone.
Right.
You know, you don't do the job well. Most likely, you can't do the job well because there's not enough in it for you.
Right.
You know, I had a job one time for 9 years, and I was willing to sweat for the job and bleed for the job and go angst for the job. You know, because I was managing salespeople, and it was very important to me. It became my identity. I was a sales manager of this multi-state home improvement company, and it was what I did. I was willing to work every day until 10, 11 o'clock to get it done because it was a part of me, and I had aligned everything in me with that. But do people do that on a job? Are they that motivated on a job? You know,
I think that companies can persuade people to be inspired about their work. I think that there are. I think Apple probably has one of those climates. I think Google has one of those climates where they inspire greatness in their employees. But for the most part, at least in my experience, my personal experience, IBM used to inspire greatness in us. And then it became more about the status quo and not what can you and the company do for our clients, but what can you do to keep your job?
That's a shift.
That's a shift.
I think I want to keep this on this level for a little bit longer, okay?
That's depressing for me.
Is it really?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Just a little bit longer.
That's fine. You only got 3 more minutes to depress me.
All right, carrot and stick motivation. If you do this, you'll get that. A contest to win the contest as a way of motivating the sales force, for example. Or if you hit this target, you will get a paid day off, okay, or a trip.
I think what makes that work or not work is knowing who your participants are. Everybody is motivated differently. I mean, even for me, as when I was in management with corporate America, again, going back there were some people that if you recognized them in front of the team for their contributions, it motivated them to just achieve so much more. Isn't that the case
with most people?
No, not most people. Because when I'm that was talking about my customer-facing team. But now when you were talking about my technology team, my back office team that actually did the physical coding and stuff like that, if you threatened to celebrate them in front of anybody, then you were, in essence, shooting yourself in the foot. Because they didn't want to be celebrated in front of anybody. I mean, for them, give them the bonus, don't talk about it. For them, celebrate them privately, send them a letter of thanks or whatever the case is, but to bring them, and this is still broad strokes, right? I'm not saying all of them, but in many cases, it was like, please don't do that. That pissed me off. Don't pull me up to the front of the room. Wow. But you and I are front of the room people, but everybody is not front of Go ahead. You almost made me choke. Go ahead. But everybody is not front of the room people. And it's really just going back to relationships. I know we didn't talk about that today. We're at 1.5 minutes left in this broadcast.
I thought we were going to cover things like how to motivate yourself. And a lot of times I thought we were going to talk about how suggesting to people that they make a list of what's so great about them, and what they can get done and all those kinds of things. Maybe that'll be for another conversation. But I do think it was worthy exercise talking about this high level of what does motivate and what doesn't motivate. I think I learned you a little bit better on this recording.
Did you?
I think so.
Well, you're going to have to tell me what you learned about me.
Okay.
So you've got 50 seconds to tell me. No, I'm just kidding.
I got 50 seconds?
No, okay. Yeah, you do actually have 50 seconds.
Well, in this 50 seconds time, let's talk about why do we do this show? Mm-hmm. What motivates us to do this at all?
Well, I think checking in with each other and then checking in with the people that we serve gives us an opportunity to give to them in another way.
To give in another way. Mm-hmm. So why do you want to give it all?
Because that's who I am.
Yes. Who was it? Earl Nightingale, I think he says, it's impossible to get rich without enriching others. Are we rapping?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, baby.
It is. This is Lisa Santiago McNeil.
And I'm Brian Keith McNeil.
And this has been About Last Night on 895themix.com. The People's Voice, the People's Choice. 895themix.com.